Welcome back to another episode of the Thinking Big podcast. I'm your host, Sean Osborne, and today we're diving into a phenomenon that we've all felt, but we rarely understand. So you're sitting at a big event, surrounded by hundreds of eager minds. The speaker on stage is dropping wisdom bombs, and with every word you feel a surge of energy. You're invincible, ready to take on the world, but fast forward a week, and that blazing fire within reduces to mere ashes. Why does this happen? Why do we feel so empowered in the moment only to return to our old ways soon after? Well, today we're diving into the world of neuroscience a little bit to understand the event high and how we can make it last.
Welcome to the Thinking Big podcast with Sean Osborne, the show helping you think bigger into your life and potential. Sean believes by equipping you with the tools, strategies, and philosophies required to be successful in all aspects of your life, you can achieve anything you believe in. Empowering our own growth makes a deeply positive and lasting impact on our lives, community, and our world. Now, here's Sean.
And before we begin, I want to welcome this week's sponsor, PipDeck's Workshop Tactics. I use these cards for all of my workshops and presentations, and they have been so valuable that I just had to partner with them and get them on the show as a sponsor. And have you ever felt that your presentations were, a tad bit snoozy and boring? Want to jazz things up and make your pitches as vibrant? Say hello to PipDeck's. Imagine turning your slides into a dynamic conversation. And with PipDeck's, you're not just talking at your audience, you're engaging with them, real-time feedback, quizzes, and a whole lot of fun. It's like turning your presentation into a party, and let's face it, who doesn't like a good party? And with PipDeck's, you can customize to your heart's content and let your presentation shine brighter than the Texas sun. And let me tell you, it was 102 today in Houston, and it is bright. So if you like what you're hearing, just click on the link in the show notes and dive into PipDeck's and let the good times roll. It is the season as kids start going back to school and the seminar and the workshop seasons kind of kick in. This is when people are really starting to go back to going to the workshops and going to seminars. And I thought this would be a great topic to discuss on the podcast this week. And we have all experienced it. Attending a grand event, a seminar or a workshop, the energy is palpable. The atmosphere is electric. You're soaking in every single word, every idea, feeling invincible. However, genuine transformation isn't about a temporary rush. It's about modifying our actions and our routines. So picture this, you're at a conference. The speaker's words resonate with every fiber of your being. You're on top of the world, ready to conquer your dreams. This is what I call an event high. It's real. It's definitely real. It's powerful, but it's temporary. Our brains release a cocktail of chemicals when we're in that atmosphere. Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin. It's nature's way of rewarding us for seeking knowledge and connection. But like all highs, it's fleeting. Fast forward a week, and that fire, it's not even a smoldering ember anymore. And we often revert back to our old patterns, our old habits. So why does this happen? So let's dive into the fascinating world of a little bit of neuroscience to understand this better. And here's a startling fact. Just 20 minutes after an event or a speech, if you go to a keynote speaker that's an hour long, just 20 minutes after the event, we forget about 40% of what we've learned. Within a day, that's around 70% gone. And a month later, a staggering 90% evaporates, gone, poof, as if you had never learned it at all. It's like pouring water into a sieve. But why does this happen? Well, neurologically, our brains are wired to retain information that's reinforced and discard what's not deemed essential. And for a very good reason. You are taking in a staggering amount of information every second from your five senses. What you see, what you hear, what you smell, taste, and feel. It's estimated at about 40 million bits per second of data that you're actually taking in and processing. It would be an absolute chaos in your conscious mind if we didn't have this filtering system. And every time we learn something new and experience a profound emotion, our brains form a new connection. But for a lasting change, these connections need to be reinforced again and again. It's like carving a path through a dense forest. The more you walk it, the clearer the path becomes. It gets embedded into the ground, and that's how habits form. That's how change is solidified. Remember when you first learned to ride a bike? It wasn't the exhilaration of the first ride that made you a cyclist. It was the repeated falls, the persistent attempts, and the daily practice. Neuroplasticity is our brain's ability to rewire itself, but it needs repetition. It's the difference between hearing a powerful speaker and living by it every single day. And this concept extends far beyond just individuals. If you're a leader, when you invest in training for your teams, you really want to grasp this concept, and it is vital. Because if you're investing in training for your team, make sure it's not just about the initial spark. For instance, let's say your team attends a workshop on improving communication skills. They're all fired up, ready to be the best communicators the world has ever seen. But unless they practice those skills daily, seek feedback, and continually refine their approach, that initial spark fizzles out. Ensure there is a structured program in place to reinforce the principles introduced during whatever training that they had, whatever event that they went to, because true change, that comes from what follows the event. It's the consistent sequence training, the habit modifications that truly cement change. And if 90% is lost in a month and you spent $10,000 for your team training, you just pissed away $9,000 down the drain if you don't follow through. Now, do not get me wrong. I'm not saying events or workshops are pointless. Far from it. They are a crucial role in our change journey. They act really as a catalyst, igniting the desire for change. But the real transformation occurs the days, the weeks, and the months that follow, where habit modifications come into play. So how do we move beyond, that high and ensure that the spark from that life-changing event continues to burn long after the event? Well, here's a blueprint that I call AARC. That's awareness, action, repetition, and community. Awareness. Just recognize the event high for what it is, because it's very powerful, but you need to recognize it for what it is. It's a spark, not a fire. Just understand and know that that burning inspiration that you are feeling in these events will be gone, and sooner rather than later. Action. Implement one thing you've learned immediately. I say before you even leave the event, before you even leave the conference, implement one thing. Don't wait. The truth is that the action precedes motivation. And the power to change, to act, to achieve, comes not from waiting for that jolt of inspiration from the event, but from taking the first step and then the next step. Repetition. Practice daily. Carve that neural pathway through the weeds. This is really where I see most people fail. They don't stay persistent. Stuff happens, I understand, and we tend to tell ourselves, well, I'll pick that up again tomorrow, or I'll pick that up again next week. And it's dead. At that point, it's dead, right? You're not going back to it. And last, community. Surround yourself with like-minded souls. The journey of transformation is not a solitary one. One is not a big enough number for success. It's bolstered by community, by collective growth, engaging with like-minded individuals, sharing insights, and growing together. Because together, we truly can achieve more than we can alone. And that's the AARC Blueprint that I'd like you to follow when you go to events. So there you have it, Thinking Big Nation. Another episode comes to a close. We've journeyed through the highs and lows of the event high, hopefully unraveling some of the mysteries of our brain. And again, we laid out the blueprint for lasting transformation. And again, it can go much deeper than that. But remember, it's not about the spark. It's about the consistent flame that follows. It's about building that fire. It's about stoking with wood, with whatever you can to get that fire going and staying burning. The daily actions, the persistent efforts in the community that supports us. And as you step into the world, I challenge you to reflect on today's insights. How will you move beyond the event high And how will you ensure that the lessons learned don't just fade away, but rather become a part of your very being? And if today's episode resonated with you, consider sharing it with a friend or a colleague or a loved one. Let's spread the wisdom and light the path for others. And don't forget to follow the Thinking Big podcast on your favorite platform for more enlightening episodes. And if you have a moment, leave us a review. Your feedback really does help me grow and bring you more of the content that you really want and that you love. And until next week, keep the fire burning, embrace the journey, and remember, true transformation is a marathon and not a sprint.